Welcome back. Nigeria is one of the top producers of peanut, also known as groundnut, and the largest producer in Africa. Peanut is a crop of global importance. They are significant to both smallholder and large commercial producers. World annual production is about 46 million tons per year. Now let's look at the importance of this commodity as the revenue earner for the country. I'm being joined in the studio by one of the research analysts with Financial Derivatives Company here in Lagos, Damilare Adeshola. Dami, nice to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank
So
you.
tell us about peanut and where Nigeria is in terms of production.
So as you said, Nigeria is it is the largest in sub-Saharan Africa, and we currently produce about 3 million tons per year, and so that places us third globally, so that's after China and India. And so with this, most of it is just the raw. We don't do very much of the processing apart from the conversion to oil, but in terms of the actual crop itself, we are one of the largest producers in the world.
What about exporting this commodity? What potentials do we have there?
So definitely there's a lot of potential, especially with regards to the processing. So usually as an ingredient for another product, so for example, for peanut butter, which is it's not as popular in Nigeria, but it's more popular in the West. And so using that, exporting this crop to players or them who use peanuts as one of the ingredients. But then another thing that we note is that most times for this commodity, most of our production is actually just consumed in Nigeria. So we saw a decline in production from 2016 to 2017, and so at the moment we don't even really have that much excess to export.
So do we even export at all? How much do we export?
We do, but it's a fraction. It's a fraction. I mean, most of what is being exported is the oil, is the groundnut oil after it's been crushed and processed into oil.
All right. Nigeria has been clamoring to diversify its economy away from oil. What's the potential of this particular commodity towards generating more revenue for the country?
Well, I would say that there is a lot of potential, but then that being said, even if you look globally, most of the major producers, like the US, India, China, most of them actually do not export. And so I guess maybe something to be looked into. Most of them actually do not export this commodity. If anything, they would export a finished product such as oil or peanut butter or cookies or something else. So as opposed to looking at export, we could export especially to our neighbors. So there is a little bit of production done in Mali and Ivory Coast, but there's a little bit in Ghana. But Ghana is Ghana uses a lot for their traditional soups and whatnot. So there's a potential to export to our neighboring countries. But I think instead we should be looking into processing this groundnut from just the peanuts, just the raw material, to something that can be used on the table.
What are the key challenges that you see there?
So first of all, I think one would be security. So as I mentioned, there was a decline in production even from 2015 to 2016 and then again to 2017. What drove that was really the security issues. So one of the main producers in the state is Borno and Adamawa, where we have heightened terrorist attacks and activity. So what we found is that there's been a shift to traditional farmers. Most of the sources of this products is from traditional farmers. So traditional farmers have packed up and are moving and migrating down south, and so that has affected the output of the commodity. So I think that is one. Apart from that, also it's just, as I said, it's traditional farmers. So using very basic forms of production, so from farming to harvesting, is still very labor intensive. So that would also placing a cap on how much we can actually produce. And so looking into moving from depending on just rain, looking to move to irrigation and other more sophisticated forms of farming. So I think those are the two major challenges that the industry is facing.
So how can Nigeria begin to harness some of the potentials you have mentioned here to actually get the best out of this commodity?
I think majorly if there could be some support given to the rural farmers. I know that they're, in terms of fertilizers, the government is doing a little bit, but if you look at China, for example, China initially was behind Nigeria in production, but they had a rapid revolution in that industry with looking at high yield seeds and coming up with all sorts of technology that really improved their productivity. And so if we could do something inject some technology into that industry, it would really do a lot of good. And so and also the major players who use these products, so the likes of UAC and flour mills, also to invest significantly, that would be helpful for the industry.
Right, talking about our exports, and one of the burning economic issues you put out there on your report, which has been on since this week, is the fact that the UK has announced kind of a provision of certain fund for export, and that the exporters, Nigerian exporters, will have to access that, or rather do the export in Naira. Is this a cheering news for us?
Yeah, it definitely is. UK used to actually be one of our major exporters, but now they've been bumped out of the top 5 by Belgium. But apart from that, it's positive for SMEs and importers, because people who import goods from Nigeria, so now they don't have to look for getting credit lines. They could just either pay Naira or get a facility from the UKEF directly. So I think that once that has been done, it's going to mitigate some risks for them, especially exchange rate risks. So other times when they borrow in foreign exchange, and then there's a fluctuation in the currency and the exchange rate, and there's a depreciation, and that now increases their servicing cost. So I think that it definitely mitigates us risk, and it just shifts it to the government, really. So our question should be really, I hope it's not a repeat of what happened with the repatriation of airlines and all that they had to then increase the exchange. So I hope it's something that the government will be able to still fund.